Hey, welcome back, friends. If you are joining the friends, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. So this is probably going to be my last time logging on to the mining and smithing beta. I think I got a pretty good feel for exactly how both those skills work. And I kind of wanted to share with you guys a little bit of my feedback and a little bit of just information about how mining and smithing is going to work. First off, let's go with a little bit of the basics. I'm going to start with mining because that's where you get all your ores, obviously, to do the smithing. For mining, you are going to have multiple different types of pickaxes, up from bronze all the way up to Elder Rune pickaxe, and essentially they're based on the tiers. So bronze pickaxe is obviously going to just be tier 1, it gets 0 rock penetration, and what you're going to want to be doing is looking at the rock penetration. That's how you know which tier it is. So tier or level 10 equipment is going to be 5 penetration, level 20 equipment is going to be 15. The reason why I'm saying to look at the rock penetration instead of the mining progress is because when you get into the higher tiers, like Dragon Pickaxe, the Dracolith Pickaxe and the Dragon Pickaxe give the exact same rock penetration, so that means that they're both tier 60, I believe. And they just give you a different amount of mining progress. Now, from my personal experience, the rock penetration is the most important thing, so it's better to just make sure that you have enough, or the highest level equipment that you possibly can. And the mining progress isn't necessarily the best thing to be looking at. So if you look at like the Dragon Pickaxe versus the Necronian Pickaxe, the Necronian is obviously a higher tier, so you get 140 penetration versus 105 penetration. But the Dragon Pickaxe has the exact same mining progress. The rock penetration makes a huge difference, so definitely go more towards the penetration than you would just the mining progress. They usually are both the same, where if one goes up, the other one goes up at the same time. But definitely look more at the rock penetration. So again, the Elder Rune pickaxe is going to be very similar to the Crystal pickaxe upgraded. Same rock penetration, just a little bit more mining progress on the upgraded Crystal pickaxe. They essentially just made the Crystal pickaxe tier 80, and then they're going to have an upgraded version for tier 90. But Crystal pickaxe upgrade is going to be the best in slot, so definitely look into getting that if it's not too hard to get. Going from level 1 to level 50, I did do that all as if I was an Iron Man account. It felt pretty good, honestly. Level 1 feels really slow. I'll go ahead and change my level to level 1 really quick. It does feel relatively slow, which a lot of people are complaining about, but I think is actually a really good thing to make level 1 feel slow, because it gives you more room to progress. Essentially, when you are starting at level 1 with most skills, you're getting the same amount of equipment and same amount of stuff as you usually would. But because mining feels so slow at the beginning, it makes it feel a lot better when you start upgrading it quite a bit and you start getting more ores more quickly. As you can see, it takes like 4 or 5 picks a lot of times just to get 1 ore at level 1 mining, and you're not getting almost any experience from that. So it feels kind of slow and rough, but again, I think that that's a good thing, because it makes it feel, if you go back to this at like level 20, level 30, you do some more tin or copper for some reason, it really big difference when you're mining with level 20 versus mining with level 1. Also, active mining seems to really increase your XP per hour, so definitely worth doing. As you can see, I just got a level up by clicking one thing. Definitely worth looking into that as well. I think active mining is definitely very nice. Going up the tiers, it seemed like I was essentially just having to restart it every single tier. When you get to tier 20, it feels like you are mining copper at a tier 1 with level 1. If you're mining coal at level 20, tier 20. That being said, I was not upgrading my pickaxes immediately because I was trying to do this as if I was an Iron Man. And like I said, there's a huge difference with these pickaxes. If you are using steel versus mithril, it makes a giant difference. So definitely upgrade as quickly as you can. Even if you have a plus pick, so like Iron Pick +1, it is not going to be good as a steel pickaxe. So just go ahead and buy a steel pickaxe from a store or something like that. Just get the right tier. Going all the way up to level 50, it felt really nice though. If you're doing active training, it felt like you're actually doing something worthwhile. Level 15, you do unlock energized mining. Go ahead and change my level to level 15 so you can see that as well. Let's just change it to level 20. But at that level, you can start getting more ores more quickly, just because there's a chance that you kind of skip the animation like that right there. You skip one tick of the animation, which makes it feel a lot nicer and makes it so that actually playing actively for mining is going to be a really good option. I am going to show you some XP rates at level 99 real quick though. So AFK mining was relatively slow compared to what Sandstones used to be. It's about 90,000 XP per hour if you are doing AFK completely. I was using the upgraded crystal pick, which is the best pick in the game, and going on level 90 ores. These are going to be the best ores for XP, but all in all, it was relatively slower XP per hour than you would expect from mining if you are being fully AFK. On the other hand, if you are actually paying attention and jumping between ores, you can get up to 140,000 XP per hour on this mining smithing beta. That means that if you have all these sets as well as XP buffs and everything like that, you could reasonably probably get at least 170 to 200,000 XP per hour. So very nice XP per hour. It's going to definitely increase the maximum XP per hour, assuming that they don't mess with the XP rates too much, or at least nerf the XP rates at all. I could definitely see this being a really good method as long as you are relatively high agility for the energized mining, as well as just constantly clicking. Smithing, on the other hand, yeah, I don't know what to say about smithing. First off, if you're playing like an Iron Man, you do not get enough smithing supplies from mining in order to actually level up smithing. I was going and trying to get like I think I was trying to get level 20 smithing, and it took me until like level 27 mining. I was doing active mining, so that does increase the amount of XP that I was getting per ore. But still, having to get level 27 mining just to get level 20 smithing, this is not going to be good for the early levels unless they really tweak the numbers. I am going to make something so that you can kind of see the entire process of smithing really quick. Essentially what you do is you choose what you're going to make. You heat it up, and then you just kind of beat away at the anvil. At the lower levels you have less heat, so that means you're going to having to go back to the forge a lot more often in order to reheat the equipment, and then going back to the anvil to obviously start it up again. I've heard rumors that potentially you get essentially more progress on that top bar there. The top bar is going to be the progress towards making the equipment. The bottom bar is going to be the heat. I've heard that if you keep it at higher heat, you actually get more progress towards completing the item. So you can actually complete the item a little bit faster if you start reheating about halfway down the bar like this. Whereas if you are trying to do it at like very low heat, you're not going to be getting as much progress. So it's worth not trying to go all the way down on the heat. I'm not sure the validity of that, but it's kind of a cool mechanic. And if they do have like prompts that pop up saying that you're at 50% heat or 75% heat or something like that to tell you when you get decreased amount of progress, kind of like harps, that would be relatively nice. I do think that they should make the heat drop a little bit slower, in my opinion, just because it's a little bit too click intensive. Obviously I'm only clicking twice, but you have to be paying attention a little bit too often, in my opinion, especially at the lower levels when you only have 300 heat instead of like 600. You're having to click back and forth quite often to actually make the equipment actually go quickly. And as you can see at the bar down here, it cools slightly and it's slightly harder to work. So you're going to want to just, hopefully they make it into a pop-up message so that you can see it like harps. But I don't know. I like the mechanic of it, but I think that the heat should drop a little bit slower in order to encourage people to be a little bit more active, or to have the option to just kind of AFK an entire equipment all in one go, or 2 or maybe 3 goes. I know what they're trying to do to make it so that there's less equipment actually going into the game. It makes sense to me, but I think that they need a little bit of fine tuning on how quickly the heat drops, as well as the XP that you're getting from this. XP rates are not the best. I'm going to show you a couple of XP rates in a couple seconds here. But those are the maximum amount of XP per hour that you can get. They're going to be extremely expensive to do because you're going to be having to get +5 or +4 equipment and turning it into decorated, and then turning it into this guy. Essentially, starting with rune, you can now turn the max tier rune armor that you can buy, turn it 1 tier further, and then it makes it decorated where you can turn it in for a chunk of XP. It's not the best XP per hour though, and I'm surprised that they are doing it like this, because it's a lot of money that you're gonna have to be sinking into this. I think you'll see the XP rates, but assuming that the ores have any price at all and these armors have any value, this is not going to be a good training method, assuming that they keep artisans the same way it is, or if they have any other way of training smithing. This is supposed to be the fast XP and the very costly, and it just ends up being very costly and mediocre XP, so not the best in the world. I do want to mention the upgrading mechanic really quick. As you can see, I do have the full offhand Elder Rune Longsword here, and essentially what I do is I take that Elder Rune Longsword and I add a couple more bars to it, and I make a +1 version. This is going to increase the stats slightly, as well as just getting you more and more experience every single time. So for the +1 version, you get 2,000. +2 version, you get 4,000. So this is going to be a relatively decent way of training up if you make them all the way up to +5. Assuming that the +5s hold any value for the people that are trying to just get the fastest smithing XP, just going +5 into the decorated version and then turning them in. Assuming anybody's actually doing that, this is going to be a relatively good way of getting some experience while hopefully not losing too much money. And the tier, or the +5 for the tier 90 is going to give you tier 85 stats. So for weapons, this is going to be very nice to have tier 85s that you can craft from essentially scratch. Don't have to be relying on boss drops or anything like that. The armor, I don't see them having any use, unless if they do have Masterwork still in the game, and it gives you some sort of DPS increase. They're only tier 85 armors, and it's essentially the same as Port's armors, which if you already have Ports unlocked, these are going to be completely worthless. They're only in melee combat, so again, making even more niche of a use where there's already barrows, which is the most common is melee. So even if you're trying to do augments, you might as well just be using barrows armor. And on top of all of that, people still use like tier 70 power armor on top of tier 85 tank armor. They just feel like it's better to be dealing more DPS, get you more kills per hour and all that. So that makes this even more dead. I just don't see this having any use, really. I would imagine there's going to be a better way of training smithing, and this is not going to be the best way. If you're trying to do a slightly cheaper way of training smithing, this might be a decent option. Or if you're trying to get the fastest smithing XP per hour without having to be that click intensive, because I'm assuming ceremonial swords are still going to be decent at least. They are going to be click intensive, but I'm assuming they're going to be about the same GP per XP as well as extra XP per hour. If they keep ceremonial swords as is, these are going to be dead content, essentially. It's unfortunate, but the only things that are going to be slightly worthwhile doing is weapons, and they need to either buff the XP on this or make it so that it costs less equipment or less bars to actually make them. We'll go over a couple of the higher end XP per hour rates though real quick for you. So I did want to share a couple of XP rates that I got from smithing. If you are doing Elder Rune, I was doing all plate bodies for this just so that I could get base level of XP per hour with the highest quantity item. Elder Rune was getting about 60,000 XP in 6 minutes, just going from the +5 to the decorated version. That means if you buy a +5 and just turn it into the decorated, you'd be doing 10 of them per hour at 60,000 apiece, meaning 600,000 XP per hour. Obviously, we can't know the GP rates just because we don't know how much Elder Rune is going to cost, but that seems really low to me. The Bane armor, which is a tier 80 armor, is even worse than that. You only get 28,000 XP per 4.5 minutes for only 370,000 XP per hour, and meaning that you had to do about 15 plate bodies per hour, which again seems like way too high of a cost. On the other hand, I believe the weapons are actually going to be decent because they do give you tier 85 weapons. And it takes 18 minutes to go from scratch to a +5 tier 85 weapon. So that means making an Elder Rune tier 90 weapon and going all the way from the bars to the +5. It is going to cost you 64 bars for a main hand, 64 bars for an offhand. Or if you make a two-handed, it is going to cost you 128 bars. Also, with the two-handed, it does obviously take double the time, so you're looking at about 40 minutes for a main and offhand or a two-hand, and about 128 bars. That doesn't actually seem too bad to me. It seems about right to get a higher level weapon. Spend about an hour, maybe 2 hours if you're actually collecting everything yourself, and get a tier 85 weapon. That feels about right. Obviously, it is going to be very nice to augment these and to disassemble them. I could see these becoming the new meta for augmenting, assuming that Elder Rune doesn't cost too much. We obviously don't know the rarity of these ores in the wild right now. Without competitive mining, though, I could see these going for relatively cheap and good prices, though. All in all, though, mining smithing rework, I would say, is a net positive to the game, so definitely worth releasing, even if it was as is, with just the textures in the game, instead of all these messed up textures. Once it gets completed, essentially, I think it's definitely going to be an improvement to the game. Mining just feels really good to have the option to be active mining versus AFK mining, and both of them are going to be decent enough options. Definitely mining they have spot on. Smithing, hopefully there are other options other than just the smithing plus armor or plus weapons or whatever. Hopefully there's other options in the game that are going to be giving you pretty decent XP per hour and are going to be better than the furnace. Either that or they need to buff this a lot to make it good. But all in all, not the worst update for even smithing. I think it is an improvement that you just have a bit of fine-tuning to do. Hopefully you guys all enjoy this video. If you do, leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. That way you can see all my future content. Unfortunately, this is going to be the last mining and smithing rework beta video I'm going to make, unless if you guys really like this and want to see another one. I could do something like training all the way up to 99. I just don't see the purpose of it. I kind of tested all the levels just to see about how they feel at certain levels. As always, though, have a good one.